Hello, this is Peter Colla with Spiritual Therapies with Peter and Anna Colla. You may have seen me on David Nino Rodriguez. I've also been on Nicholas Veniamen and as well as on Charlie Ward, among others, Prime Minister, a few others that are along the way. I am a medical practitioner. I have been practicing physical therapy with my own practice in the form of my own clinic, direct treatment, as well as directing and supervising and training other therapists in the state of Arizona for 35 years. I also have treated at least 6,000 patients, and I have been pretty much doing that nonstop, as well as today. I still do it to this day. But over the course of quite a few years ago, I started putting God back into the treatment scenario any way I could, and I started seeing things that were occurring. God started bringing me different people, different examples, different trainings, as it were, to show how you could apply body, mind, and spiritual care and use the Word of God in correlation with this care to help facilitate healing and not just symptom maintenance, as I have found that seems to be the course of action these days in the medical field that I have unfortunately participated in, especially in the recent past. I wrote a couple books. One of them is called Heal Yourself for God's Sake, available on Amazon for now until I find a different printer or agent, whatever, publisher. This book is a tabulation of many examples of people who, through applications of godly principles, scriptural type applications in the healthcare scenario in my own office, and I saw the miracles that occur. I wrote them down over the course of 10, 12 years. God told me to write, so I wrote. And that's what I did. I wrote them down. At first, I published them on my blog, paulorpeter.com. Available free for anybody who wants to go look, www.paulorpeter.com. You can read almost everything that's written in this book is in there. As well as then, over the course of the last couple of years, I started asking God, how does it work? How does it work on an atomic level, on a quantum level? What occurs when we ascend? What occurs when we are healed? You have not because you ask not, so I ask. And he told me. So I wrote it down. And it's in this book, Quantum Ascension. The first book is more of a kind of a how-to. It's kind of a self-help. Treat yourself, use the applications, and do it yourself. The second book is more of how it works on an atomic basis. So if you understand it in an elemental basis, you can apply it to pretty much everything, whether it's to your health, business, even this other political things that we have going on these days, this kind of stuff, which I'm not going to comment a lot about today. I decided recently to do a series on Heal Yourself for God's Sake, where I introduce the book and go through various sections of the book, like I'm doing a reading, except I'm going to explain it and apply it to people I know, to situations. And last, I started that series. It's the Heal Yourself for God's Sake series. I started a couple of days ago. I was going to do one every day, but distractions, the enemy has distracted me. So this is number 2. Heal Yourself for God's Sake, part 2, and we're going to call it pain. Dealing with pain, or how to apply mind, body, and spiritual applications to the experience of pain. I'm going to subcall this particular program, Pain is Our Friend. And you will know why by the time you get done with this show today. I'm also going to introduce one of the patients I do offer for people who want to apply this kind of care directly into their scenario. They are calling, I'm getting calls from all over the world lately. Will you What do you do with this? What do you do with that? Well, the problem with specific applications for specific people is everybody is as individual as the stars in the heaven. And basically that you can't give the same recommendation to the same person, to many people, because oftentimes their individual needs differ. So they have to talk to me one-on-one, and I do one-on-one consultations. If you're interested in doing that, you have to contact me. You can contact me through my email, posture.is.everything@gmail.com. And then I set up a consultation during my regular work hours. And I take the time and we do it via Zoom. And if you happen to live in the Phoenix area, then we can do it in person. The first consultation is 2 hours because I need to get a history. I need to find out what's going on to not only give you a proper education on the mind-body spiritual application to your issue, but then to set up a proper therapeutic template for you to formulate, for you to go forward. And I give usually that in the form of exercises, in the form of diet advice, in the form of other things, food, light, sound, all physical type scenarios. Not try to take the place of your regular medical treatment that you're receiving, but to augment it, to basically add to it. And in order to facilitate, while you might be taking care of your physical here, we're going to add mental and spiritual components to facilitate healing. So there you go. If you're interested in that, you can call me, email me, and I will set up an appointment for a direct one-on-one for that. So back to today. Oh, and by the way, I did have somebody email me. And so I cannot get, she put the wrong phone number or the wrong email address. So I couldn't email her back. But when I finally figured it out, I emailed her back, and she gave me a pretty lengthy description of her situation. I felt that this one was warranted to speak about online. So I'm going to give her answers to her email in this show without mentioning her specifically. And then hopefully she watches this and she gets the answers to the questions that she posed. Now, back to today. Today, it's going to be what I said, pain, how to deal with it in a mind, body, and spiritual application. How do we deal with pain? And basically, pain is our friend. So we're going to assume that we're not going to go back to and regurgitate what we're going to assume that you saw the first show, the last show, the first one in the series of Heal Yourself for God's Sake. And now you're watching the second one. If not, you may want to jump back into that first one so that you can get a little bit of the basis. So I don't have to cover the basics again as I move forward in my descriptions and in my theoretical propositions that we're going to put forth. Okay, so pain. Okay, pain is the most significant signals that our body has. It basically is our system given to us by God that alerts us to issues that are destructive or harmful to, potentially harmful to us physically, mentally, and even spiritually. Okay, so a lot of people say, well, I don't want the pain. You go to the doctor and try to get the doctor to take the pain away. Okay, and that's all good that nobody likes to suffer with pain. And I'm not telling people to suffer with pain. What I'm telling people to do, and what I'm trying to help my patients to do, and what I try to help when I have a patient who I'm dealing with, or even a colleague or whoever, is don't be so quick to take and get rid of the pain as much as what can we learn from it. The pain is trying to tell us something. Now, what do I mean by that? I often do in my descriptions, I teach it in the way it was taught to me. When I didn't understand something, I would ask God, how does this work? And then oftentimes he would show me, he would tell me. Sometimes it was with words. I have heard God speak very softly, but he does speak. I know his voice. I've had it shown to me in images, sometimes in signs and wonders and different things. So just people will walk, suddenly a patient will walk through the door and they will have the answer to the very question I'm asking. Okay, that's how it works. Okay, that's how it works for me. And so I write it down. Okay, with pain, God help me understand how pain works with people. Pain is as a fire alarm. We all have them. That little fire alarm device that sits on top of our ceiling in many rooms in our house. Your body is a temple. It's in the Word of God. It is a house, a mansion with many rooms. Jesus' words. So let's assume that that's right. So let's assume that our body, physical body, our life, our entire creative soul, as it were, is like a big, beautiful glass house. Perfect in creation. God created us perfect when he created us. And then we managed to F it up with everything that we do, one spoon at a time. You know what I'm talking about. I don't have to go there, but we'll be covering it quite a bit. But back to pain. God said it's as an alarm. So here we are in our home. And as many times, especially at night, you're laying there in bed, relaxing. Beep. 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 All right, where's that alarm coming from? You get out of bed and you got to go through the house. Beep. And so, where that room? Beep. No, over in that room. Ah, found it. There it is. Beep. Okay, you go up, push the button. You pay attention. It brings you to your attention. Push the button, reset it. Feeling better now. Okay, it's okay. Start to walk back down the hall. Beep. Go back. It's going off again. Well, maybe the battery, they tell you, I got to switch those batteries every once in a while. Upkeep, got to do some upkeep. Take the battery out, put a new battery in if you happen to have one. Put it back up there, reset, and walk away. That solved the problem. Getting back into bed. Beep. All right, back down the hallway. Now, we've determined it is not a functional issue. There's something going on. Okay, otherwise it wouldn't keep beeping. We've already changed the battery. We've already reset the thing. Okay, gives us 3 choices. God so loves giving us 3 choices. It seems to be common when we're dealing with bullies. But often in my therapeutic things, it's always 3 choices. No different here. 3 choices. Choice 1. We can go up there and take a wet rag and staple it to the roof so that the wet rag covers the fire alarm. And now you go back to bed. If there was smoke, it wouldn't get through the wet rag. So, of course, you reset it. Even if it starts to beep, once you get back to the bedroom, you just hear this. Boop, boop, boop. You can't hear that on the other side of the house. Wet rag is doing good. The wet rag is the pain pill, just for your information. Pain pills are wet rags. They reduce your ability to feel pain. They reduce your ability to feel anything. Talk to people who are addicts of opioids. They'll tell you. Yeah, they can still know something's going on in that little toe, but feel what's going on around them? Not likely. Alcohol, drink a lot, you feel less pain, but you don't really feel much of anything else. You're not even aware of when that sucker punch is coming. No, you don't see it till it's too late. Boom, knockout. Another story. All right. And if you happen to staple the wet rag to the roof and you go back to bed, and suddenly now that little outlet that was only giving out a little bit of gas before, now suddenly turns into a little more smoke, and now a little bit of flame. And now before you know it, the whole wall is on fire, the whole room is on fire, AKA the whole house is on fire, and you're sleeping. Not a good idea. Okay, the wet rag, forget it. Well, we can do the other. We can go back in the room and we can take the fire alarm off and we can pull the wires out and put it back up. Now it's not going to beep anymore. You know what's funny? I've been dealing with pain management for 35 years, and I've gotten a lot of patients that have gone to pain management things. And they start out with opioids and all kinds of pain pills and different things. But you know, if you go back enough times for the same issue and the pain pills don't work, suddenly you became a candidate lately for what they call a sort of deconnect, surgical deconnect. They go in and they cut the nerve so you don't feel it anymore. Hey, pain's gone. I don't feel the nerve anymore. But you don't feel anything else. You go and rip the wires out of the fire alarm and then go back to bed. Now, it doesn't matter what's happening. Plug that's being, or the little kid down, little brat down the block who comes at night and likes to light a little fire outside your house because he loves lighting your garbage can on fire. That you're not going to be awake because there's no alarm to go off. Not a good idea. Disarming is not a good idea. Leaves one. Wet rag, disarming. There's only one other choice. Figure out why it's going off. Holy mackerel. You mean to tell me we never really look at why? All the reasons why, not just the obvious one that they say because you took a baseball bat to the back of your head. Well, if that's not obvious, but what about if you don't know why suddenly your back started hurting? Well, the doctor says it's because of the disc. Well, why did the disc decide to suddenly degenerate? Well, what? Because of, years of, I played football when I was 18 and now I'm 60. So yeah, I pay the price for something that happened 50 years ago, 40 years ago. Oh, really? It just now decided today to rupture. Okay. All right. But if you're willing to look at what we've talked about before, small physical, bigger experiential, and infinite spiritual, that means there's an infinite size spiritual reason. There's an experiential reason, and there's an extremely small physical. If we can get rid of the curse part, then we can deal with the other stuff pretty simply, pain included. There's a big spiritual part. There's a malevolence. Okay, there's an evil behind that wanted you not just to have you feel pain, but wanted to kill you. All attacks are meant to kill you. If you survive, if you overcome, overcoming and surviving are two different things. So surviving could be just taking it till it goes away. No, if you overcome, it doesn't kill you, makes you stronger. It's a good thing. I like being stronger. Sometimes experiences make us stronger. They certainly make us experienced. Yeah, that's the whole definition of veterans in the wars. They survive a battle, now they're a veteran. Veteran of this war, veteran of that war. They're more experienced. They know what to do for the next battle, much better than a rookie. Okay, you become a veteran to battles when you overcome, when you survive. Okay, pain is an alarm. It's given to us by God to warn us of two things. It warns us of two. Well, maybe I could squeeze out a third, but we'll stick with two. Imminent attack. Okay. Yeah, there's three. There's an attack happening. Two, an attack happened recently. And now the pain is agitated because you got a knife in your skin. So it's going to hurt for a while. Or you burn. You get burned tissue. It's going to hurt for a while. Pain for it's firing. You burned yourself, idiot. You stuck your finger in the fire. Okay. Pain, attack happening, attack recently happened. Well, what's the third? Something out there reminds us of an attack in the past. And so they jump the gun. Over agitated. That's what PTSD is. PTSD is a form of pain. Your body feels something similar to what it felt years ago. AKA, I had a patient who had gone to Iraq, patient friend, and he was walking along with his group of guys, and one of the guys popped open, they were just walking along, popped open a can of soda, and just as he was drinking it, stepped on a landmine, boom! Dead, his good friend, and many of his buddies were wounded, including himself. To this day, even seeing soldiers walking throws him into a panic where he actually starts to feel the pain he incurred then. Not only pain physically, but pain at the loss. Pain of loss is a pain, loss of his friend, fear. And at some points, it even throws him into a panic attack where he falls on the ground and he can't even function. He's even had it so far as to when he hears the can of Coke in our therapeutic process, we started figuring out that it's all of these signals reminds his pain receptors, they hear it and they immediately think, attack is happening. Can of Coke even. Hypersensitivity. Attacks can have a direct effect on us, as they can also leave a mess, which can be painful, or they can, if we see something that reminds us of a previous attack, our bodies will react thinking it's coming, and thus will respond accordingly. So there are three possibilities, three warnings, and they're all good. Why? Because if they weren't there, we wouldn't know when the attack was happening or occurring, not only coming down the hill attacking us, but is actually happening. Now, I said there are many types of pain. There is many types of pain. Pain is associated with loss. People suffer enormous amounts of pain when they've lost a loved one, lost a child, lost a limb, lost a parent, lost a friend, or even lost a job. If it happens to be something that they love, they put a lot of work into their put a lot of pride into building a company, to have it taken from them, lose it. Loss can be painful. Pain can happen with direct wounds, with direct assaults, physical assaults on our bodies, cause pain. And because the body is reacting, the skin is not associated. It does get signals. So if you see an attack, but if you don't see it coming, and suddenly you feel something, it doesn't know what's happening. It just knows that it's feeling, it's experiencing something that's dangerous. Attack, knife, baseball bat, golf ball, hits you in the head when you're not looking. Attack, okay? Spiritual attacks, depression. People experience pain with depression. They feel down, pushed down, controlled, enslaved, pain. People, you know, have you ever been bullied, held down against the ground, you pushed under the water? Pain. Yeah. Abuse, pain. Control is abuse, pain. Energy, abuse, control, pain. Pain is not the attacker. Pain is the response, is the signal. It's the signal. Pain's a signal. I love it when people come and say, pray with me that God takes away my pain. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to pray he takes away your pain. I'm going to pray you understand why you're feeling pain so the signal can turn off. If you can figure out what's going on that's causing the beep, beep, and you can get rid of it or get rid of that problem, the smoke, the thing will turn off itself. Sorry for my dog. He hears me talking and she decides now it's time to be guard dog. Other than that, she sleeps all the day, every day. English bulldog, sleeps all the time, except when I'm talking in the room. Then she decides, I think I better show off that I'm a guard dog. Whatever. She's going to be guarding outside. But anyways, so many types of pain, loss, hunger pains, starvation, extreme cold, extreme hot, anything that's potentially damaging to us physically in any way, whether it's social, economic, whether it's physical, about our future, that our dreamt of future, might be about our children. It's pain. Pain, we feel pain because they're attacks. They're negative things that are meant to kill us. So what do? We identify the cause. Mind, body, and spiritual. Mind, body, and spiritual. The good news is, back to our alarm, it's in different rooms. Different rooms have different meanings, different parts of the house. If you're feeling pain in your shoulder, it could be a tendon, but there's also a reason why it's the shoulder. There's a spiritual reason why the shoulder. We talked about it in the last video. We glanced on it. Why do a lot of men have pain or get pain in their low backs? Why a lot of women get pain in their upper backs, in their shoulders, necks? Men carry the burdens of their families on their back. So when they're under enormous amount of strain, stress, tension, and all these attacks are happening, these stresses and strains, economical attacks, their back responds like this. And look at my fist. It's cutting off the circulation and it's all white. Okay, less blood flow. Less blood flow means less food, but the same amount of products. As a matter of fact, probably increased waste products because it's working harder. You hold it like this for an hour, and it's hard to even open your hand back up because it's full of waste products. Okay? Imagine what happens to your back when it's tense and it stays tense for months. It becomes a place of increased waste products and decreased feeding, vulnerability. Now, here comes the enemy. He's looking for a place to get in and get at you, but he can't get at you. He can't go in you because you're a son, or you're a child of God, especially when you've asked the Lord to live in you and you want him to be a part of you, and you've freely asked. So now he's in you, but he still gives us free will. He still allows us to be stupid, leave the window open. This tight, tense back is a window. So, if you suddenly feel something in your back, a sudden attack, a sudden twinge, a sudden pull, okay, obviously you need to deal with it. Obviously, you need to try to nurse it back to health. Okay, you have to try to relieve that tension. Okay, you can calm down. We've got it. Everything's okay. The attack's over. Okay, I put my spirit, I know that it's primarily malevolent, so it's not gonna come back. We're on to him, but it still did a little damage. Okay, it attacked, knife wound, cut some skin, cut something. So we bandage it, we take care of it, we clean it, we feed it, we give it some good rest, we give it some good protection, and it heals. And at the same time, we make everything else around it stronger to relieve the pressure. Okay, good, well done, good and faithful servant. You're doing good. And then you go on and help others with similar issues that you had yourself. And that's how you pass that gift on to others. But back to the pain. Okay, at the same time, when something occurs, we ask, what's it trying to tell us? It happened at about the same time that I was worried about my financial situation. God, help me with that. Help me relax. I know it's going to be okay. What I don't want to do is hurt myself because of God. Forgive Peter. Forgive yourself for putting this burden on yourself. Okay, doesn't mean you throw away your responsibilities. No, what you don't do is take it upon yourself. Seeing that allows you to catch on a little quicker next time. So instead of it happening to you and it takes you 3 months to figure it out, now it happens to you and you see right away and it's go away. I'm not doing it today. Okay, my back, a little twinge, I'll take care of it. Don't worry, back, I've got this. The financial burdens, we got it under control. Everything's gonna be okay. And the back relaxes. And then God goes on and helps heal it because you're using godly text. Okay, God, thank you. I have not because I asked not, so I'm asking. And you ask what's going on, he tells you. Okay, I overcame. What doesn't kill us makes us stronger. Okay, I overcame. So I expect to get stronger. Thank you, God. I'm stronger. I'm going to get stronger. Okay, my body's going to, when you break a bone, and it happens, physiologically, the bone heals and it forms a callus around the bone. It's almost physically impossible to break a bone in the same place twice. Why? Because the callus that builds up around it, a protective mechanism to stop it from, naturally makes that bone stronger than it was before. So if you break it again in the same, it will be next to that place where it broke before. Unless that break didn't have a proper chance to completely heal. But once it's healed, completely repaired itself, you will not break it in the same spot twice. It's absolutely true. Okay. So we will go on and talk some more about pain. Okay. So wrap your arms around pain. Thank God for pain and ask, what do we need to do to understand what it's trying to tell us? When we understand what it's trying to tell us, then it's done its job. Thank you, God, for this job that it's doing. And it'll turn off its own, probably. And if it doesn't, You can always put a little bit of loving on it and put your hand right on that place that hurts and tell your hand to deliver intention, love, energy, the force. You call it whatever you want, but I know what it is. It's God's healing, which you have in you, and you can deliver through you, like a fireman can deliver water to a fire. The fireman doesn't put the fire out, but without the fireman to point the hose, the water just pools up out there in the street. No, he points it at the fire and points it with skill. Fireman puts out the fire, and God is the water. And you're with your intention, just like with Marsara Mudo, I've talked about in previous videos, you can tell the water what to do. Clean this up, heal it, give it warmth, give it light, give it food, growth. Swelling, it can relax. It's okay. Swelling doesn't need to be there anymore because it's done its job. It's swelling is just a protective mechanism. We're going to get into swelling and other symptoms in the next videos. Okay. So I'm going to go on and I'm going to talk about one of my patients, one of my people who wrote me, and she actually wrote me a letter. I got a letter in the mail, and she was asking me for help. I'm not going to read the whole thing, and I'm certainly not going to read her name because she hasn't given me permission to, but I'm going to read the gist of it. And that way you can, and then we will talk about it as I go in and talk about her specific case and what I would recommend for her in this particular case, as if she was a person who called me up and wanted to schedule a one-on-one visit. She happens to be talking about pain. So it's very good for this show. Dear Peter, I watched you on Charlie Ward. I need your help. I prayed to God and Jesus, but it hasn't helped. My story is a long one, but I won't get into it now, though I would love for you to hear it. She goes on to say she's experiencing excruciating pain in her knee. I won't see a doctor as I don't trust them, and I really don't trust the hospitals. Can't blame you there right now. This pain is not making me a nice person. I lash out very easily, and I don't even want to be this way. Please help me. I hate pills, but I have resorted to taking, and as she talks about Motrin and Zoloft and levothyroxine for thyroid, and also she's had some other things, something for cholesterol that she takes on and off. She wants to stop them all, but she's afraid of withdrawals. I so wish I could have a one-on-one with you, but I live in Connecticut and that's impossible. I just don't know where to turn. I am a truth seeker, always have been. I was sending everything I could out to, and she goes to say, face, you know what, but I'm not going to mention their name, but she doesn't, but she says it in a derogatory way. And so I'm not going to even get into that, but that's fine. But no one responds. So I guess people think I'm just nuts. My daughter thinks I'm in a cult. By the way, I'm 63. Okay. So I wrote her back and said, you know, I to do a one-on-one, we do need to talk one-on-one. Need to have more specifics so I could see. I did hear the thing about the knee, but she didn't even tell me which knee. Let's see here, did she or not? No, she did not. Just in her knee. And then went on to talk about some other things, taking medications for various symptoms that she has not yet described. And so I wrote her back and said, it's, you know, we can do a one-on-one, which I have talked about at the beginning of the video. People call me in and I set it up. I do it during my regular work time, so I do charge. But if people can't afford it, we talk about it and figure out something. But oftentimes people that are desperate enough to actually write or call usually are pretty far along, and that means it's not just a question of a simple hello, hi, bye, kind of thing. Because if that was the case, I could just send her to a single chapter in the book, and there you go, be done with it. It's people are complex, and oftentimes people with the most complex issues, it takes an enormous amount of evaluation, investigation to get to the root of the problems. But so I wrote her and said that, and then she wrote back, okay, and she couldn't afford, but did really want to go ahead and just tell me the story anyways. So she gave me a pretty lengthy story. As a matter of fact, when I look at it here in simple written, not in paragraph form, just it's pages. So I sat down and I read it to my wife, Anna, and we dissected it a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and talk about, without being specific, I'm just going to mention the highlights for this person, Miss L. We're going to call her. Okay, so she'll know I'm talking about her. Oh, by the way, Miss L, thank you very much for sending this letter. Thank you for the trust that you give me in even taking the time to call me and talk to me. Thank you for the teaching that you've given me by sending me this, because I learned too. Every day is Christmas for me when I meet people, new people. Never get to know what gift I get to open on that day until I open the gift and see what God has provided me. And while I think I hope I bring them something, they always bring me something too. And so that's why I love these interactions. But I have children and I have to feed them, so I do have to charge for my regular visits during the week because I got to pay my rent. Those are the children I got to pay for. My wife, got to eat. Unfortunately, we didn't have to, but we do. I could probably use not a few meals, a few fastings, but anyway. Hi, Peter. I thought I better about my response. I have not slept all night because of pain. There's the pain again. I'm not good with technology, so the Zoom is out of my realm. So I'll just have you read my story and hopefully you get back to me. Okay. She goes on to say her name and talks about her being born and goes through a whole lengthy discussion about it. But it's important because I'm glad she did. And she talks about the fact that her mother had some issues with pregnancy and even had 3 miscarriages, and she was the only one who was born and lived, and looks like the last one was the last child was born but died 2 hours after it was being born without a brain. A lot in the old days there was a lot of medicines, especially in the 50s and 60s, that were causing all kinds of birth defects. And we see that a lot back then, physical defects, children being born without brains, short little hands and different things like that. You don't see that as much anymore. Now you're seeing a lot of kids with autism and things like that, but we're going to get into that in future stories. She does go on to talk about the fact that her mother was Rh negative and has spoken about that she has read recent articles about the Rh negative stuff. I don't claim to be an expert on the Rh negative theories that are out there, but I find it very interesting that there are so few people in the world that have it. And I'm sure that in my opinion is important. What is important that she mentions it right away early on in her story. With patients, I always notice the first things they say. When I ask them a question, the first thing out of their mouth is usually the closest to the bullseye. If you just let them, because God just puts it in them, they just intuitively know. So we're going to come back to that Rh negative thing. My father was my best friend, and he unfortunately passed away with cancer at the age of 60. So, and she grew up kind of a tomboy, more of a, playing around with her dad, and her mother didn't really like that, apparently, according to what she writes. She got involved with a man when she was very young, 14, and got pregnant when she was 15. And against her parents' wishes, she decided to go ahead and get married anyway. And then went on to have another child within 6 months after that one was born. So she had 2 children before she was 16, 17. Quite a struggle for a young girl. And she mentions us all, and then goes on to tell her that her now then husband was abusive, physically, mentally, and emotionally, verbally, and even to the point of driving her away for the fear of the life of herself or even her children. But this man controlled and, forced her to, kept the son apparently in the divorce, whatever. And then she had to go back for the son a few times, and that never worked out. But she did go back and eventually stay with him till the children were old enough to graduate from high school. A lot of abuse, a lot of pain, a lot of fear of the child, issues. Okay, understood. Okay, talks about, she goes on to talk about the night that she left the last time, how horrible it was and how scary it was, and in filing for divorce finally, and even being threatened, not only her and her lawyer, with violence, and that finally that divorce was finalized. And then she goes on to meet another man that she met while she was still going through this divorce scenario, and I'm not going to say his name, but she marries him shortly, or dates him, but finds out very quickly that he is in the process of getting divorced. Not that that's relevant. It is relevant, always relevant, but she mentioned it. So, and he's having his own problems with his ex-wife, or yet to be ex-wife, and so that a lot of that gets now dumped into her. Okay, a lot of pain, more pain. So then her father, at this point, passes away. So only a few days after, literally weeks after the death of her father, she marries this other guy. Okay, and that seems to be okay, but they're dealing with that ex-wife thing. So that was never really resolved, apparently, and so there's a lot of problems there too. I'm just telling you what she wrote. Okay, pain on top of pain. She has control issues. Now, not does she have her ex that's controlling. Now she's got this ex-girl of now her new husband, who's also trying to control. And there is a lot of emotional, verbal, and physical pain that's being thrown this person's way. They have a lot of, they pretty much have ups and downs, her and her new husband, and they they kind of come and go and maybe even separate, but then come back together. And at one point she loses her job and she's not able to, so she has to she takes a job caring for an elderly woman who lives with her, I think, daughter. I don't really get it, your daughter and son-in-law, or son and daughter-in-law, one or the other. And they breed Rottweilers. And in the course of this scenario, she's there one day watching the mother, who has Alzheimer's, and is attacked by 6 Rottweilers. Now we're getting into the beef of this story. 3 pages in. Not that it's just the way it is. Welcome to my life. This is the way it is. I get this from a lot of people. And it's, hey, individuals. There's always stuff going on. Okay, she gets attacked, and she's so viciously attacked that, and really not even helped by the people that were there. They literally just ignore her, other than just let throw a towel her way until, but she's so viciously attacked that she loses, now this gets into the physical stuff, she loses part of her mouth, and part of her cheek has to be removed. Her whole nose is removed. eyelid and part of her forehead is removed. Her upper arm to the biceps is torn off the upper arm flesh. And so it's left a massive gaping hole there. Big holes and plus much flesh and muscles were removed from her legs. Deep lacerations all over her body. Damage to her eye and her hip. And she was put in a coma and had many, many operations that followed, as well as plastic surgery, to the point where the plastic surgeons finally said there's nothing more we could do, leaving her only with the option of a prosthetic, a fake nose. So horrendous. She still lives with a lot of pain. All of this happened all in that same scenario. And then shortly after this, her then husband, the new guy, did step up and nursed her at least as much as possible back to health. He stayed by her side, fought through this to help her as much as he can. And he was there with her all the way till he himself contracted cancer and then died in 2016 in the 11th month, which we will get into that in a little while in November. By throwing a blood clot, he was apparently had something to do with fentanyl. She doesn't get into it, but basically he had some issues and then died. And so she was left alone. She has, since they had a case, and she won a case for this attack, but it took years. And then now she's sitting here in pain. It's been 5 years this November, and the pain is still strong. And she's basically wondering what she can do about this. And I've been telling myself I'm here for a reason, because everyone said I should have died from the attack. She said I came across my interview the other day and it resonated with her. Thank you so much for reading this. And she asked me if I could comment. I'm going to. My dear Miss L, first of all, what stands out is this rhesus negative thing. Yes, there's very, very few people out there that have that. And what's interesting is they seem to be, a lot of them are attacked quite a bit. There's a theory out there that it has to do with some of the most pure Adam bloodlines that are, I don't know, I'm not an expert in this department. I just know what I've heard, but it seems reasonable. But I can tell you with 100% assurance that when you've been zeroed into by the deep state, by the darkness, they either try to make you, incorporate you into their fold, or they attack. If they can't get you to join their team because you're a believer and they know that's not going to work, then they attack. If they can't have you, they kill you. Okay. And it seems, what I understand from my limited knowledge of the rhesus negative, is those people seem to be under a lot of attacks. Okay. That's my first point. But with the people who have the greatest attacks, it's because in the spiritual realm, the spirits look and they see this person and they don't know the future, they just know the potential. They can see in the spirit when you have potential. People who have great potential for being great orators have beautiful mouths. I've seen this. People who have clear vision have beautiful big eyes in the spirit. People who have an enormous heart for others have these big hearts. People who have journeys that are going to take them places have long or strong legs. People who are going to be carrying many burdens and have to do a lot of work with their hands, have big, strong arms and big, strong shoulders. And down the line it goes. There are physical attributes that are given to us even when we're born. In the spirit realm, we look just like a little baby in the physical, but in the spirit realm, they can see. They can see. So they don't know what your future is, but they know what direction you're going to go. So if they can't convert you, if they can't get you to their team, they're going to attack you in your strengths. With me, it happened to be my legs. I've been to 29 countries. I studied overseas. I've always had this desire to travel. If I didn't have that desire, I would have never met my wife. I would have never learned the things I learned. I would have never been able to share these truths because I wouldn't have known them. I couldn't have discovered them without traveling. The enemy knew that back. That's why I was attacked when I was 14 years old. So horrendously attacked, they almost had to cut my leg off. But thank God my mom stood in faith and got on her knees and prayed to God that I would be healed. And I was. And I was not only made better, I was made better. That's why it's called better, because you get better. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. If you get better, you get better, period. So you got to accept that. Thank you, God. I'm going to get better. And I'm going to get better. Okay. Count it with gladness when these attacks happen, because if they're happening because of your faith and because of the path you're taking, the more potential you have, the more aggressive are the attacks. Sad when it happens to a young girl at 14 years old. Sad when she's being abused at such a young age because they want to control her, they want to completely deflate her, they want to ruin her spirit. But her spirit was not to be deflated. She still was a believer. She still had faith. Okay, and she's going to continue to overcome pain in the leg. What does that leg tell us? Well, it tells us it's in the knee, forward, back, forward, back. Okay, it's trying to stop you from moving forward. You said it yourself. You know, I wish I'd have done more. I want to do something. I feel like I have something undone. You think? I could tell you. There's a reason that you survived Rottweiler attack 6 dogs. I have friends who have Rottweilers. They love them. They're good dogs, you know. But there is a story behind Rottweilers that people should know. Rottweilers they're the descendant of the Roman dogs. And the Romans used Rottweilers not as soldiers, not to help the soldiers. You know what they were used for? They were used to keep the Gregorian moving forward. The Gregorian were troops that they took. So if they enslaved people in let's say Germania, they take those slaves, they take the women and children back to Rome and sell them. They take the men and they send them off to maybe Mesopotamia or to Egypt, and they fight in those legions. Then they stick them out in front. Those were the Gregorian. Give them sticks and clubs and whatever they happen to have. Okay, that's what they got to fight with. And they told them, didn't even understand. They said, go that way. When you run into those troops, fight. If they lose 10 for every 1 soldier of the Egyptians, it's all good. They're just slaves anyway. Don't you wonder what stopped those guys from turning around and attacking the Romans? I'll tell you what stopped them from running. The Rottweilers. They stopped them. They had those dogs back behind them, and they were like edging them forward. The dogs weren't there for the other side. They were there to keep those troops moving that direction. Okay, so they have a little bit of a malevolent. Not all Rottweilers have a malevolent spirit, but the enemy has used them in the past. Period. Now here's Miss L taking care of a lady who's got Alzheimer's. And out of the blue, 6 of these dogs decide to attack. They just decide she's the enemy. And they attack. And they rip her literally apart. They always go for the face, the neck. That's what dogs do. There's naturally, they attack the face of each other, of other creatures. That's what they do. That's why they attacked her face. And she's, as she said, she was lucky. No, she wasn't lucky. She was blessed to survive because God wasn't ready for her. He had things for her to do. Her job isn't over. Okay. Now, she's L, sweet young Miss L. Know this, that you're not done. Okay. The only reason you're having this pain is because the enemy keeps attacking. He's still attacking you. He's trying to stop you from moving forward. So he's attacking your knee. So thank you, knee, for telling me. You know, all of this stuff that happened to your face and stuff in the past. Okay. Those are your battle wounds. Horrible that happened. Disfiguration. Okay. But in essence, it doesn't define you. I'm going to share one last thing, and then I'm done. So I have to share this. I had a patient come in my office, and I'm going to call him JW. I write about him in my book. And this was right when I first started my office. And he comes in, and they wheel him in, his caregivers wheeling him in. And he has half his body was ripped off by a digger, this digging machine in a mine. And he got too close. He wasn't paying attention. He said it himself. His boot got caught and it pulled him underneath. And then the other guy standing there was trying to push the button to turn it off, and the button wasn't working. So the thing just churned a few times before it finally shut down. And they pulled him out and put him on the operating table. And I've written many stories about this guy because he died 7 times. He told me the story. Tells me how he died. He was the first of many men that came into my office and shared afterlife experiences of dying, and then what it was like rising and going down the tunnel and the whole thing. He was one of them. He did 7 times. Every time, go up a little higher, look down. Sometimes he went out above the building. Told me all this stuff. He had half of his head, very similar to what she's talking about, her skull and her forehead ripped off. He had this big concave area here because his skull was gone. Didn't affect his brain, but it did affect his skull. His eye was gone, ear gone, mouth half gone. He kind of looked like the Phantom of the Opera. Shoulder gone, big, these ribs all gone, concaved a little bit. Lung, I think he lost part of his lung. Right hip completely gone, above the hip. He was okay there in the middle. And then his left leg just above the knee. So he had left arm, left leg stump, nothing on the right side. And he comes in this wheelchair. And I'm looking at, and I'm new. Okay, this is brand new therapy. Rookie. Well, look at this guy like, what am I going to do with this guy? What are you looking for? Pain, horrible pain, all the time, pain. I can help you with that. And of course, we had different techniques in physical therapy to help reduce pain. I didn't even go to the cause back then. I wasn't even, just treated his pain, and it helped. He come back for about a week or 2, maybe 3. And this gal always pushed him in. Come to find out later on that they were married, and she actually met him in the hospital. She was his caregiver, and she loved him and took care of him in the hospital, and then later took care of him in life, and they decided to marry. Okay, sweet. Okay, so then years later, I'm writing this book right here. This one. Ask God. What doesn't kill us make us stronger. You said it, God, not me. Oh, wait a minute. What about JW? How is he stronger? How can you make him stronger when he's lost so much? Good question. Start writing. I start writing. I'm writing the story out. And as I'm writing, I'm remembering. And as I'm writing, I'm not even remembering. God is kind of showing me in my mind so I can see him at the time of the accident. So I'm writing it down. And God showing me that I was distracted, that he was distracted because he was going through a divorce. I don't know this for sure. God's showing me this. I write it down. And he was going to lose his kids. His wife was taking his kids. So he had an enormous amount of loss, enormous amount of pain. And then this happens. He was distracted. And now he sits those months, maybe even a year later in my office. Okay. And God says, after he writes it all down, before the injury, JW was half a man because he had lost his family, his wife, his children were taken from him. But after his injury, he met that woman who became the love of his life. And he was whole again. So he was a half a man. After the injury, he got better. The pain of future attacks doesn't nullify the fact that he got better. He still became whole. He had love in his life again. You know, little Miss L, you had this horrendous stuff happen to you. But in the process, you're realizing that God has a purpose for you. Okay? Sometimes it takes an enormous amount of waking up, a number of visits to the ground with our faces planted in the mud, with some animal attacks over and over and over again until we finally realize, wait a minute, maybe God has a reason for me to go on. Hey, no, I can tell you with 100% assuredness, he does. That you can take this situation, as grave as it was, and you can live your life, sharing this experience with others as you've already shared it with me, as it's now being shared with people all around the world. And instead of crying, which you're not doing, you're reaching out, wanting answers. The answer is God allowed you to live for a reason. Now go find it. Ask him. You know not because you ask not. So I'm asking God, what do you want me to do? You know, thank you, Nee, for telling me that the enemy's trying to stop me from moving forward. God, I want to go forward. Now show me how. What am I to do? How do I bring that? And if he will show you, he'll bring the opportunities. You know, for years I've been treating people one-on-one, and I say, God, is this what I need? And then one day he says to me, you know, and I watch on TV and I see David Nino Rodriguez talking about suffering from PTSD. I think I can help him with that, with his back. So I just emailed him. I wasn't looking to get on videos or anything. And he happened to reach back, say, hey, you know, you can help. Can you help me out? And they opened the door for this part of the journey. And God said, listen, I want you to bring this message. Right? First, he told me to write it down. Now he's saying, I want you to bring it to the people. So that Miss L can hear about it and it can help her with her journey. And now she's going to take the healing that takes place, healing of her mind, body, and spirit, and look at her body and start saying, I don't need all of this other stuff, pain medicine and different things like that. I'm going to ask the pain what it means, and I'm going to tell it, and I'm going to find out so that it can turn off. I'm not going to just numb it. I'm going to start paying attention. Okay? If I'm not sleeping, I'm going to ask God why. If something's going on with my thyroid, I'm going to ask God what's going on. And I'm going to tell that spirit of that attack to leave me alone. And I'm going to go and bring in the proper nutrition and bring in the proper light and bring in the proper sound and bring all these things in for those things, which we'll cover some of those other things in future videos. But for now, embrace pain. Be thankful that God created us with such a marvelous and perfect system that not only brings our attention to direct attacks, but lets us know what has attacked us in the past and why, and even can remind us of things that look like it to warn us of future attacks. So when we see the signals and we see them charging down the hill, we know long before they get here. No, I'm not playing today. Go away. Spirits turn around and leave. That's why I was never afraid of getting comorbid. I treated hundreds of people. I knew I was going to get it. You know why? Because I'm not afraid. And I know the spirit has no effect. And the physical part, that's so little, I can deal with that. My body can easily deal with that. It's the curse that you have problems with. But when you know it's a curse and you're aware of it, then you turn on the light and darkness flees. Simple as that. Turn on the light, darkness flees. I hope this video helped you. I hope it helps Miss L. I hope that she gets it and watches it. And if you have any questions, people want to write me some emails, you know where to write me, posture.is.everything@gmail.com. Now, we don't monetize these videos. So any kind of benefit we have is only from people buying these books. You can write to me at my posture.is.everything@gmail.com, and I will send you a signed copy for the price of the book plus shipping. I have to buy the book, so I have to charge for them. But then you get a signed copy that's only available to people in America, because anywhere else it's too expensive. That's expensive to ship. It's more money than the cost of the book. Heal yourself, for God's sake. Like I said, it's a book that is kind of a self-help guide, helping people to kind of do it themselves, spiritual therapy. And then this one is, how does it work on a quantum? Understanding it makes it very easy. So yeah, buy the books, like and subscribe to our videos, share this information. That's how you make it your own. Taking in gifts from God is good, but sharing it, that's how you incorporate it into you. You've got to share this stuff as you get it. If you've had many blessings from God, you need to share your blessings. Otherwise, they stagnate. And that's not good. Dead Sea, water goes in, doesn't go out. I hope this blesses you. And again, like I said, contact us, share and subscribe. And until next time, I'm going to try to do another one tomorrow. And tomorrow, I think I'm going to do it on swelling and some of these other things, and maybe getting into differential diagnosis, like what about arthritis? How does that work? And that's what we'll look forward to tomorrow. And until then, You guys have a great day, and I'm going to stop recording. Bless you. Bye-bye.